Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here to talk about Hell's Kitchen, Season 22, Episode 12. I don't even have to say anything else. I could literally just end the video right there because, wow. This episode, it was kind of predictable. Everything that happened, I was like, okay, this is pretty obvious, what's going to happen here. This season has turned into, it's turned into something where you can clearly see, what's probably going to happen, and that there's not really many surprises or interesting twists and turns. It's just who's going to be there, what's going to end up happening. And so if you like that, then you'll really like this episode. But then there's this stuff at the end that happens that's really, really bizarre, and probably one of the stupidest things that I've ever seen on the show. And I've only seen 2 other seasons, as I've told you guys before, but in those 2 seasons, you see a lot of stupid things. Okay, believe me. I mean, they were some of the worst seasons, apparently, and somehow this season, it had something that was even stupider, almost. It was that stupid. I really, really thought, why? Because, well, okay, we're not to that part yet. But let's just say it did not make me happy. So let's start off with Jonathan. Jonathan, at the beginning of the episode, he's being a drama queen, and he's very upset that Jason is still there instead of Danya. And he also is upset that Jason mentioned his name. And it just seems like these chefs are kind of full of themselves, because at this point it seems like they've all written Jason off, which I think is kind of shitty because, he is there whether they like it or not, and it seemed like they just all didn't take him seriously, which was kind of weird because, he does cook good food. He does make mistakes, though, and he has trouble owning up to those mistakes and admitting that he was wrong. That is a big flaw. But, Jonathan, he starts off the episode, he's just acting like a big drama queen, and he's like, wah, 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 and he's hiding in his room, and then Jason comes in there to talk to him, and then he runs away, and he goes and hides somewhere else, and it was really kind of cringeworthy, because he was acting very girly and childish. But then at the same time, Jason, when someone's like that, you can tell that they don't want to talk, and you can tell that you should probably just leave things alone. And Jason was kind of still pushing because, he's like a brick wall. He doesn't understand. And so, but still, I thought that whole interaction was kind of cringeworthy because, the whole season, Jonathan has been pretty good. But then you get to this, and it's like, I don't like him after this episode, or the end of last episode, because I feel like if you're that overly sensitive, then how in the hell are you ever going to deal with being, an executive chef for that Las Vegas restaurant? You can't be that sensitive and be a head chef. You're going to be doomed to fail if you're that thin-skinned, and it with doing anything really. If you have a thin skin, then you will be doomed to fail at some point, because that's a sign of a weak character, or not really weak character, but just immaturity. So the first thing that they do, they have 3 challenges. The first thing is they play this craps game with a big dice in order to roll out for ingredients. There's letters on the dice, and for each letter, a chef gets to call out an ingredient, and that gets to be a part of the dish that everyone has to make. And Gordon, he rolls an H, and he picks halibut for them to make. And I thought, oh shit, that is a terrible protein to be given. Like, that, not in terms of, like, it's not terrible, like, in terms of taste, but it's just, it's very hard to get right. And it's also very hard because it's very bland. Like, I'm not a fan of halibut at all, or cod, or anything like that. Like, I prefer, like, salmon or trout, stuff like that. So, right off the bat, they get, like, a really tough protein. And it was funny because when I was typing out Carmen, I accidentally wrote Charmin. And so I kind of came up with, like, an ingenious nickname for her, which is Charmin Carmen. So Charmin Carmen, she chooses turnips. And I thought that was a really strange choice. Like, out of all the things you could have chosen, turnips. But then, and Sammy was making fun of that. But then, guess what Sammy picks when she rolls a T too? She picks truffles. I mean, when that happened, I was like, oh my god, you are obsessed with truffles. You have a fixation with truffles and truffle oils and just everything truffles. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she's got truffles everywhere in her house, if she's got truffle shampoo, truffle toothpaste, she's got fucking truffle perfume. She could probably, like, if they ever run out of truffle pigs, you could probably use Sammy to sniff out all the truffles in the world. Like, you could take her into the forest and be like, hey, Sammy, go find me a truffle. and she'll just, like, run around and look for it, and she'll probably find it, and then she'll bring it to you, and she'll be like, no, I want it for myself, and then she'll eat it all. And then Sammy, she says that for all her cooking career, she thinks that she has been underestimated for her gender. And I was like, Sammy, with all due respect, no, it is not because of your gender. It is because of your strange obsession with truffles. Like, wow, that's just truffles. Like, if she had to choose 3 foods to take to a desert island, she'd be taking them truffles. She'd be taking truffle oil, truffles, and probably truffle sandwiches. I don't know. Like, something to do with truffles. Like truffle ice cream, truffle ass cream. You know, anything with truffles. And so, yeah. And then when they were cooking, they had a little funny moment where someone stole Jason's turnips, or somehow they completely disappeared. That was really weird, and it was pretty funny because Gordon was like, did somebody steal Jason's turnips? and nobody responded, and he couldn't find them, and I was like, what happened with those turnips? Like, did they ever figure out what happened to them? Like, because honestly, I really think it would have been a funny gag for them to, like, for after the challenge is over, to search the whole kitchen, like the trash can, like, because where did those turnips go? Like, because after, when they cleaned it up, someone had to have found those turnips, and that would have been a really funny moment to show on video. Show, like, these are where his turnips went. And another thing too, why couldn't they catch that on the cameras? So I thought that was kind of a miss. And then Charmin Carmen, after she gets her dish judged, she says, there's always that 1 ounce of that I must have mistyped this. There's always that 1 ounce of Did I do everything right? F it. She said something like that. I need that black jacket. And I was like, yep, that's mental gymnastics, Carmen. Like the gymnastics, it's like there's always that one little ounce of, did I do everything right? Well, F it. I need that jacket. Like that is so on par for Carmen. Charming Carmen. Demir's fish was not seasoned enough, which was surprising. I thought for the first challenge, Carmen's dish did look the best. It visually looked the tastiest. It might not have been the tastiest from Chef Gordon's criticisms, but it looked good. And also Jason's looked good too. I liked the way that his sauce looked, which apparently was very good. But Jonathan gets the first black jacket, which was very unsurprising because, he seems to do pretty well with these dishes, these custom dishes. He hasn't really had a lot of problems this season with that. And then Sammy, unsurprisingly, gets the second black jacket. So, yeah, you look at them and you're like, oh, those two are probably going to be the finalists. Or maybe Heather Graham 2.0, I don't know. It's not going to be... It probably won't be Demir, although it would be cool if it was, because I think that he's been one of the best competitors this season. And then they had this really weird... The second challenge I wasn't a fan of. They had this slot machine game where Gordon does this giant slot machine and it sends down items, and the players have to run up there and grab whatever item they can get and fight the various chefs, fight each other to get these items. And I thought that's kind of a weird game that they should have come up with something that was more like interesting than that. Like that was just very like simple and kind of weird, the way that they have to fight. The way they have to fight each other to get these ingredients, and it's just something seemed off about it. Like it didn't really seem as random as it seemed weird. But Charming Carmen got Peruvian purple potatoes so she can show off her Peruvian side. Yeah. Because that is going to get her to victory. Her Peruvian side. The Irish guy gets chickpeas with lobster, which is a very strange pairing. And it's going to be very challenging. Or is it? And then also, Jason and Charming Carmen, they did fight over quail eggs. It's been so funny this season how, like, Jason and Charming Carmen have had like this back and forth. Like, even though they don't really have like a direct rivalry with each other, it's like for some reason throughout the season they've been like clashing all the time. Like Gordon always puts them against each other, and then like you have this where like they're fighting for those quail eggs, and he got them, and unfortunately he ended up misusing them, which I thought was very sad because, quail eggs sound good, but he did something really weird, probably one of the stupidest things he did in the episode, is that he trimmed the eggs so that they were tiny, so that it would look pretty on the plate. And I thought that was bizarre and retarded. When you have steak and eggs... Because that's what he wanted to do, steak and eggs. When you have steak and eggs, that's 50% of that title is steak. And it seemed more like on the dish that the ratio of the steak and eggs was 90 steak and 10 eggs. So a 90 to 10 ratio. So that would not make you very happy if you're looking for steak and eggs, Like that, I didn't see what he was thinking with that. And in fact, then his last ingredient that he got was black garlic, which was one of his all-time favorite ingredients. And I wrote, and I quote, "He better fucking win this challenge, LOL." Because, like, he got everything that he wanted. He got the steak, he got the black garlic, he got quail eggs. He wanted all this shit so he can do the steak and eggs. And still, he doesn't do it good enough. And I thought, that is a real shame. Because honestly, I think that if he had gotten this dish right, he would have gotten the black jacket. And then the Irish guy, he knew his dish sucked. Okay, he made a dish, and he basically didn't put any effort into this dish at all. And I'm not saying anything like, because like everyone else was saying that on the show too. Like they were saying like, look how much he just doesn't care. He's just like throwing this and throwing that at the wall, you know, and it's true. It's like he really didn't have any idea of what to do. And he made a terrible dish. And it was kind of like, see, this is why he should have gone home weeks ago, is because of this right here. Because he did not, like, put any effort into that at all. And it was just like, oh, he's just doing it to do it. And it's like, there should have been someone there who was, like, passionate about getting the black jacket at that point. Because, like, I feel like Sad Sack Sandra, she could have done a better job with the ingredients than Irish Springs did. I feel like Danya, even, could have done a better job. And so this is another thing where it's like kind of sad because Gordon has kept certain people longer than they deserve to be there. And this is what you get. You get a terrible dish. And he knew his dish sucked. He knew it. So Charm and Carmen's scallops, they looked really awesome too. So honestly, I really thought that she did a great job this episode. I thought she stood out. I would have eaten all of her dishes after I apologized to her about calling her a mental gymnastics idiot or something, whatever I've said. And then it was funny because Charm and Carmen said that Gordon was nitpicking by criticizing how her dish didn't have any spice. Like, he said that it would have been much better if she added heat to her dish. And she's like, oh, he's just nitpicking. And I was like, there's the mental gymnastics. Excusing that. And then Demir did a good job, and he improved on his last dish and had perfect seasoning. So that was good to see. See, that is what you want in an executive chef, I guess. Or I guess the winner of the season. You want someone who improves, who can grow and get better, and it's not just going to be like mid-tier or crappy and up and down, whatever. You want someone like Demir who, maybe he has some flaws and then he actually overcomes them and does a great job the second time around. And then Heather Graham 2.0, she made a big boo-boo. She left the rib cap in the kitchen. Big mistake. Chef Gordon was pissed. Like, he acted like... I think in this episode, the angriest that he was when she left that rib cap in the kitchen. Because what she did was she trimmed down the rib cap steak because she wanted the portion size to be smaller. And I thought, why? Why? What are you going to do with that extra steak? Like, what, like, when you order a steak, you get that whole steak. You know, like, what are you going to do with that extra steak? Like, give it to a dog somewhere? Like, that was a stupid decision. And Gordon was like, he was ready to send her home, practically. He was really pissed off. So obviously, once again, Damia gets the next black jacket. And then, but actually, surprisingly, Charming Carmen gets the next black jacket after that. And I was very happy for that because she definitely deserved it. And I would have been upset if he didn't give it to her because it was kind of seeming like he was just giving the aprons based on how he would rank the players. You know, like, because let's be honest. That is like, I mean, because you think Jonathan, Sammy, Demir, and then everyone else, like, you think those are the top three probably. Or I guess Heather Graham 2.0 is close to that as well. But it kind of seemed a little bit like Gordon was just picking people based on how he ranked them before the episode even happened. But then he did pick Charming Carmen. And then the Irish Springs guy, he said the second someone doesn't believe in himself, they should be out the door. And I thought, wait a second. Minutes ago, you didn't believe in your shitty dish. And you should be out the door. Because that whole second challenge, like, he didn't believe in himself at all. He was just like, oh, chickpeas with lobster? What do I do? I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to throw stuff on a plate and hope that it does well. So, yeah, I thought that was a strange comment to make. You know, a lot of comments this season, people have made very hypocritical comments. And then for the final challenge, everyone gets to do whatever they want. And I felt like, didn't Jason just get to do that last challenge? Like, that's literally what he got to do. Practically, like, I mean, he got to do whatever he wanted and he failed. And now he gets to do whatever he wanted again. He better not fail the final challenge, that's for damn sure. And he goes for the lobster. And I was really scared when he did that because I was like, uh-oh, I hope it's not going to be raw. Because in this season, they have made raw lobster like every single episode. Like it's a curse or something. So, Irish Springs chooses to do a pasta dish without any protein, which is it's a strange choice, that's for sure. Heather Graham 2.0 undercooks her lamb. That was kind of like a trick that they did to make you think that she wouldn't get the jacket. So then she just puts it in the oven. Like, that was a real easy fix there. And Jason, he is making a lobster curry, and it looked very, very good. It looked like it was very well cooked. And when he showed it to Gordon, what I thought was nice was that Gordon did acknowledge the improvement on his first dish. You know, because that was the whole reasoning behind it, was him making a lobster dish just like he did when he came on the show. And Gordon noticed that he improved. And I thought, even if Jason goes home, he has impressed the most out of this whole group because he demonstrated right there that he has improved the most since day one. That's kind of a hot take, but I mean, it's true. But then something bad happens. Something very funny happens. Something very strange happens. Jason gets sent home first. Very strange. I didn't like that. I thought that was kind of queer. That was kind of a miss for me. And then Chef Gordon, he acts like it's a very hard choice between Heather Graham 2.0 and Irish Springs. And I was like, bullshit. You call that a hard choice? Like, he said, this is the hardest choice in Hell's Kitchen history. You know, like, they always say that every single year, like, oh man, this is tough. This is the hardest decision we've ever had to make in the history of this show. They say that over and over and over again. And then I was like, oh, obviously Heather Graham 2.0 gets the final jacket. You know, the Irish Springs didn't even have a protein. But then wait a second. Chef Gordon gives the Irish Springs guy a jacket too. And I thought, well, shit, that's retarded. Like, seriously? Like, why even have the top 5 black jackets if you're not even going to commit to making that final decision? Like, I was really pissed off at that. Like, there's one thing where it's like, if someone is really, really that good, but this is the Irish Springs guy, and you know that he is not that good at all. And so the fact that Gordon broke the rules of Hell's Kitchen to keep him there out of all people to keep in the competition, that's the one he breaks the rules for. I was like, oh, Gordon, what are you thinking? Because in the end, he's going to have to choose someone. You know, like, it's not going to be in the finale where it's like, oh, you know what I decided? I'm going to give everyone the executive chef. You're all executive chefs together. He's going to have to pick one person. And doing this nutless thing, like keeping Irish Springs guy and totally going against the rules, I thought that was really, really stupid. And it was almost like he was doing that just to get, like, ratings or something. Because you think, like, oh, that's very controversial. Maybe it'll pique people's interest that, like, oh, he broke the rules of the show for this guy out of all the chefs in Hell's Kitchen history. Wow. That must have been some really good pasta. I mean, it looked good, though. It did look good. It looked better than the second dish, but still, like, wow. 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 And so I give this episode a D+ because I really did not like Chef Gordon breaking the rules for Irish Springs. I thought that was really stupid and idiotic that he couldn't commit to that decision. Like, even if both dishes were very, very good and they're both perfection, whatever, one dish was still better than the other. So the person who was lesser should have gone home, just like Jason. Right? Like, you can't just do this. Like, this is not, like, it's a competition. You're supposed to be sending people home, and instead you're just, like, prolonging the inevitable. Like when he kept people earlier on in the season and sent home Sad Sack Sandra for no reason, and he kept these people who, you knew that they were going to go home. And then they went home, and it's like, yeah, duh. Well, here we go again. And what do you know? In the trailer for next week, I think next week's episode should be called Buyer's Remorse. Because like, it looks like, obviously, they should have kept Jason. Because it looks like they're going to undercook a ton of proteins. And I was thinking, Jason would not have undercooked those proteins, that's for sure. Like, he might be questionable with his dishes that he creates, but he would not really mess up these proteins. So I thought that was very, very unfortunate that once again in this season, Chef Gordon has gone against what seems like an easy decision of, like, Jason, no matter how he had a flaw in his dish, which was the sauce was not seasoned enough. But the fact that he showed that he improved all this much over his first dish in the season, I thought was more impressive than the Irish Springs guy making a pasta dish. Because, I mean, lobster's hard. The Irish Springs guy, he made a shitty lobster dish the previous challenge round. And he was still there. So, yeah, that whole thing. I know that the episode probably doesn't deserve a D, but when you have these controversial things that happen at the end of an episode that just kind of throw a wrench in everything, they just kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth. Like, I can't give it anything above a D plus, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, this is a competition. People get eliminated. Like, you're not doing any favors for the show by keeping someone there longer than they actually deserve to be there. You know? So anyways, please like this video and comment. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews of Hell's Kitchen. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.